As what is going on? You are checking out an all new the RCWR show coming at you for Monday night of February 3rd, 2020. What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday to you all. We are just a couple of minutes removed from an all new WWE Raw. Hey man, before I go any further into the show, let me just do one thing here. So I wanted to just come on live here and get this stream up and running already, because I saw there was a couple of you guys coming and going. Wasn't really sure if you were missing anything or not. Let me just make sure my recorder is on. And yes, the recorder is now on. So now the show is officially a green light here. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? You are checking out an all new the RCWR show for February 3rd of 2020, Monday night, just a couple of minutes removed from Monday Night Raw. I know some of you guys are used to us coming on immediately after Raw goes off the air, but since now it seems Raw is going off at 11 o'clock promptly until further notice, I just think it makes all the sense in the world that 11:05, 11:10, we make an effort to try to come on live for you guys. So honestly, from here on out, the goal is to basically, as long as Raw is coming on at 11 p.m., the goal is to come on at 11:05. If you guys decide you want to maybe show up at 11:10 because you want to go grab a quick drink, use the bathroom real quick, you're more than welcome to do that, because usually the first 5 minutes of the show anyway just pretty much go over the formalities and all that. That's just specifically for those of you that check out the show live and everything, right? But hope your weekend was very kind, and if you had checked out the Super Bowl, hopefully the team that you were rooting for had sealed the deal for you. I know I really didn't have a personal favorite, but if you had to put my hands over the fire, Chiefs, because of how long I followed the career of Andy Reid and everything. So I'm very ecstatic for Andy Reid, and hey, for Patrick Mahomes, that's fantastic. 24 years of age and everything, that is just fantastic. But it was funny because I was at work today. Yes, apparently I was not, nor were many of my coworkers. We were not part of the 17 million from last year that had called out from work because of Super Bowl Sunday. But it was hilarious. I was talking to my boss earlier today, and she was a little bit irritated, I could tell, because we had 3 people that had called out for our shift. And, it's like at our office, the type of jobs that we work on, we need all hands on deck that we can get. And so to lose 3 people, essentially, that's not really good, because ultimately that means other people have to pick up the slack of those 3 people that's not there, because it's a pretty intimate office setting, basically. So me and her were talking, and I said to her, were you aware that last year, with regards to the Super Bowl, that following Monday, an estimated 17 point something million of folks missed work? And she goes, I kind of heard a little something about that on work. And then she brought up a good question. I felt it was a good question. She goes, I remember when I was much younger, I used to watch football on Sundays and everything. But what I don't understand is, why are the games always on a Sunday? Why can't they change it to a Saturday? After all, most people have to go back to school or work that Monday. I just don't understand it. And I said to her, I say, well, not for nothing, but I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time where the Pro Bowl game was on Saturdays. And then eventually, through NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, he decided, okay, you know what? Let's have it be on Sundays. And that still really wasn't quite working out, because the way that it was set up, the Pro Bowl would go down after the Super Bowl, and people didn't give a damn still about it. So then it was, okay, well, let's have the Pro Bowl happen on a Sunday, but let's have it happen a week before the Super Bowl, right? Makes all the sense in the world. Give them the Pro Bowl, then give them the Super Bowl. Everything ends with the Super Bowl. And so, it's been coming along and everything, I would say. But she brought up a good point, and I said to her, I really don't have an answer for you other than the fact that everybody is usually home on Sundays. But to your point, hey, maybe you could entertain the idea of having the Pro Bowl be on Friday nights. There's a decent amount of people that are home. on Friday nights, right? Maybe you could experiment, see how that would do. And then I don't know, guys. I don't know. But in a perfect world, would it be cool to have the Pro Bowl on a Friday night and then your NFL games, your Super Bowl on a Saturday night? Yeah, it would really be cool because I'm sure many of you, especially those of you that's gotten up there in age and everything, it gets more challenging Sunday night with these Super Bowls, and then you got to get up the next day for work or school, and you're not even really getting in that much sleep. Like for me this year, after I got done doing the Super Bowl post show, there was a Super Bowl post show, our annual Super Bowl post show. We've been doing that for like the past 5 years, I would say, honestly. We ended that show. I think that show ended almost at 12:30 or something like that. And afterwards, I was pretty wired. So I was finding little things to do around the house. And I didn't finally go to bed until 4 o'clock in the morning. And I had to turn around just a handful of hours later, get up, go to work. So if I was lucky, maybe I slept a total of 3 hours. And keep in mind, I was waking up at least every 30 minutes. I don't know why. I was just waking up every 30 minutes. Sometimes I'm wired like that. So, we were going back and forth about that. And that's why I say, I don't know. It's really interesting how that many people call out and everything. So now she's trying to make a new mandate of making an announcement like 3 days before Super Bowl weekend. Hey guys, if you know for a fact you're not going to be showing up for work the Monday after the Super Bowl, let me know as quick as humanly possible so I can adjust the schedule as I need to. That way you won't be on my shit list. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't anything wrong with putting something out there like that. But if you're following me on Twitter, I put a tip of the day out there, which was basically, hey, don't call out from work the day after a Super Bowl, especially if you have the weekend off. That just makes you look so bad. It's not even funny. Unless you ultimately do not care, then it's kind of like, well, you know what? You do you, right? If you know damn well what the consequences are going to be and everything, and you're prepared for all that, then God bless you, right? But don't jeopardize yourself like that. Like seriously, don't jeopardize yourself like that. Like it's just not worth it. But yeah, so interesting Raw that we got tonight. We're going to talk about that in a hot minute. It's going to be a short show tonight. I know usually I say that, but as I just told you guys a couple of seconds ago, I only had clocked in, if I was lucky, about roughly 3 hours of sleep. So I've been feeling very sluggish all day. So the goal is to have this show be wrapped up in about 75 minutes is what I would like to do. 75 minutes at most. And whatever we're not able to get into, we've got the Wednesday show. And I don't mind it if the Wednesday show goes a lot longer. Okay, guys? So Raw tonight. Hey, look, I got to give a mad shout out to the people in Salt Lake City, Utah, for showing up for that Monday Night Raw tonight. I know that usually you got some fans, they will go on social media and they will look up podcasts and they will see what podcasts had to say about that show that they were at. And some of them like to add their own 2 cents to it and everything like that. And I'm kind of keeping that in mind for those in the Salt Lake City area. Y'all got my mad freaking respect. Mad props to you guys because all that snow. I know sometimes you kind of look at what WWE will put out there and you'll say, okay, they're just exaggerating. But no, legitimately, they really were dealing with some serious snow that was going on out there within the past 24 hours. I don't know how many of you guys had actually took it upon yourself to check it out, but Salt Lake City, Utah, they got hit so bad it was not even funny. According to the Utah Department of Transportation, it was so bad they actually had warned drivers, hey, if you can, stay off the roads because you're going to be dealing with slick roads. There's going to be blowing snow, dramatic reduced visibility as a result. So if you can help it, stay off the roads. Those are deadly combinations. And if you guys have been in driving school, you know that when it comes to the snow, that's something that they tell you in driving school. Hey, if you can help it, just stay off the roads. That's like the best thing you can do, is to stay off the roads. Let Mother Nature do its thing. Let those plow trucks go out there on the roads. Let them do what they need to do. Let them put the salt down and all that, right? If you can help it, right? And the Utah Highway Patrol, they reported that there was a total of 200, as it stands right now tonight. The number may have changed, but as it stands right now, the Utah Highway Patrol reported that there were 211, you heard me right, 211 crashes across the state as of 1 p.m. Monday this afternoon. And by Monday morning, the National Weather Service, they recorded as much as 16 inches of snow. Yes, 16 inches of snow in the northern Utah area, with wind gusts surpassing 50 miles per hour in many locations. So it really was bad out there in Utah. So for those people that ended up going to a wrestling event, mad respects to them. Mad respects to them, because they did not have to do that, right? And it was looking a bit, not really sure there. Not really sure what's going on, because, you were hearing rumblings that WWE Raw, it may be off tonight. So, okay, well, if it's going to be off tonight, then what's going to happen, right? So, I mean, just think about that. 16 inches of snow. You got those reported crashes that I had mentioned, right? You had school districts, government offices, and businesses that were either closing several hours earlier. They just said, no, this is too much. We are just going to shut things down. No, it's just not worth it, right? And still, you had a situation where normally when you get that much snow, then you got to worry about the shoveling period. Those of us that, like myself, have to deal with the shoveling and all that, right? Especially if you're in a residential area and all that, you got to worry about multiple times going out there, shoveling out those driveways and parking lots and all that, right? Maybe you got to lend a hand to a fellow neighbor and everything. You got to let the crew, right, the government snowplow trucks and everything, you got to let them go out there, do their thing, right? Usually when you get that much of snow, you usually need a full 24 hours to let just a combination of all of those things just work itself out, so that, okay, finally, now maybe we can kind of see things get back to normal or whatever. It really depends on how the government operates in placing out there the snow trucks and all of that. It could be a case where all you need is a full day to just rest, and then you can go back to work the next day. Sometimes you may need 2 days. It just really depends on the government's response time and everything. But here are these wrestling fans have a unique opportunity to go to a Monday Night Raw event, and they go at that. Mad respect to them for doing that. And they brought the energy. That's the other thing that I really want to stress tonight with that Utah crowd. They really brought the energy. I wouldn't say, I will jump out there and say that there were many parts of the show where it almost felt as though you were getting maybe a Raw after the Royal Rumble, or maybe you were getting a Raw after WrestleMania. There were many aspects tonight that really made you feel like that, and their energy was very infectious. It really kept me going for most of the night, although there were some parts that literally, no pun intended, but it truly did put me to sleep. I love the great opening there with Randy Orton and that white hot Utah crowd really laying into him, giving him those heavy boos, jeers. That was just a great reaction that they gave to Randy Orton. And how was that orchestrated? I can't help but wonder, because sometimes you can get lightning in a bottle, and what they had tonight with that Randy Orton opening segment was lightning in a bottle. I would like to be a fly on the wall listening in to Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson and crew, Bruce Pritchard. Did they know that they were going to be getting that type of a reaction for Orton? Did they feel that in their bones? What was going on? Or was this a case where Randy truly did have the bullet points that he needed to make during his promo for the Raw opening tonight? And it was just one of those deals where, hey, if you really don't have to go through it, yeah, let the crowd take over. It's okay. We got plenty of time going into WrestleMania. Milk them for all it's worth. Or was it a case where Randy Orton just pulled an audible and he just fed off of the crowd? It's stuff like what we saw with that opener tonight that makes things very magical. And that was really very cool and magical what went down. It was definitely right up there with Seth Rollins betraying the Shield. It was right up there with freaking Dean Ambrose, right? Coming right back there, attacking Seth Rollins, crapping on Roman Reigns. It was right up there in recent memory, I'm talking about, mind you, right? It was right up there with those, maybe even eclipsed it to a degree. And just when you think Randy Orton is going to get something out, I just want to say, and he keeps getting booed. I loved it. I ate it. The guy was out there in the ring for at least about 11 minutes, could not get anything out as far as a full sentence until finally he just said, I'm done, right? I guess that's a sentence. He's like, I'm done. And they just cheered. Like, finally, it's a positive reaction as, oh, great, he stopped talking. He's not even going to try anymore. Yay, right? That was just, I love that. That was a good, strong opener. And, okay, so you opened it up on such a good, strong high note, but then you kind of go a little bit of a slight nosedive when you have Liv Morgan taking on Lana, right? This is, as soon as I hear the Lana music, I'm going, well, long as she doesn't talk, we're okay. All right, turns out she doesn't talk. We just get her little entrance, cute little movements as she's going down the ramp, commercial break, come back, we got the match. Okay, great. And at least that was a quick match. Liv Morgan coming out of that on top. You're going, okay, well, that's nice. At least it was quick. But then we hear the music and we see the lovely Ruby Riott, who we had not seen in 9 months as she was away on double shoulder surgery. Yeah, double shoulder surgery. What a bitch, right? That's a pain in the ass, I would imagine. She's finally back, looks better than ever. Looks like she's got a couple of new tattoos in some areas. She's back, and you're going, all right, we got a little bit of a Riot Squad reunion right here. Hey, what a great little moment. And then Ruby Riott looked as though about to be a nice, good hug, embrace and everything by the two. Ruby Riott just assaults Liv Morgan. We see Lana smiling, nodding in approval. So you're going, okay. So obviously Lana is behind this. She was somehow able to set this up. Ruby Riott leaving scraps for Lana. Lana pretty much doing her thing afterwards. Okay, so now the $1 million question. Why did Ruby Riott do what she did to Liv Morgan there? What is the story that's going to come out of that in the coming weeks? And I was kind of marinating on that for a couple of segments. And one of the things that came into my mind, I don't know how it was for you guys, but I'm going, okay, well, one direction you could maybe go with this is, and it kind of highlights something that I mentioned some months back. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I had toyed around with the idea of Ruby Riott coming back and essentially saying that with regards to Liv Morgan out of the Riot Squad, she was, the weakest person in the group. That was one of the things that I toyed around with. I was also throwing out there, well, not for nothing, but you could also go with Sarah Logan as well. You either way, you could play with one of those. I want to say the original pitch that I put out there was maybe Sarah Logan, but I had toyed with the idea of you could have Ruby just attack one of those girls or even both of those girls and essentially say, hey, I'm the one that held the group together. I'm the one that always was cleaning up you all's messes every single time you girls had got in a jam. I always was the one that was bailing your asses out, right? It was me that was holding that group together. You guys ain't done jack, diddly jack once I was out of the equation, right? You girls didn't do enough to protect me and step up and bring your equal share to our group. And look at what happened while you girls had continued to thrive in your little pathetic careers, right? No calls, no texts, no emails, right? No Skype, nothing. I'm just left there recovering and everything. So I could see something like that. I mentioned that some months ago, and I really did not see anybody else that was putting that out there on social media. So, I'm doubling down on that once again from what I said a couple of months ago. I really wouldn't be surprised if maybe all these months that Ruby Riott has been away, if there had been some type of animosity, hatred that has been brewing, right? And that's how we got to where we are tonight. That seems to be the most simplistic storyline that's there. I'm hoping that with regards to what Liv Morgan had said about Lana a couple of weeks ago, with regards to, hey, I always, how could you do this to me? I had feelings for you, what the hell? You see, they kind of left that alone a bit, essentially, since last it was first brought up, right? You had a lot of people that were kind of under the impression, oh, what we got going on right here? Is this a little HLA? Like, what's going on right here? And there's nothing wrong. If you had jumped the gun and you were kind of under that impression that, maybe that's where we were kind of going, I think if there's anything that we have learned in the past 4 years, and we're going to talk about it later, because Mauro Ranallo, he did a fascinating interview that I want to highlight. He was talking about the impact of social media and everything. And even follows up to when we get ready to talk about Stephen King later on. Stephen King, he quit social media himself. We got to be careful, because in the past couple of years, how we are perceiving things and how we are so quick to jump on it and essentially be matter of fact, this is what it is, when in fact it's something entirely different. I just think now more than ever we definitely need to be a little bit more reserved in what we think is going on. But if you thought originally that maybe that was going to be a HLA type of thing, there's nothing wrong with thinking that. But you see, it's been ice cold since then. I don't know if maybe somebody kind of told Paul Heyman, because it seemed as though that was Paul Heyman written all over it, with Vince McMahon kind of just salivating, yeah, let's do it. I don't know if they essentially had pumped the brakes and were like, hey, a little bit too risque. Even if we were to push this to the 10 o'clock hour or 10:30, it's still too risque for our advertising. I don't really think we should be going in this direction. We'll never really know, but it's been ice cold since. So, I don't think it's going to go down a path where Ruby Riott, although it would be kind of nice to give that nod where she says to Liv Morgan, you've been so infatuated with Lana, ever since you came to the WWE. I'm just thinking as far as continuity goes, if they kind of want to pick up that little story arc again, they could. But I kind of like what I had said before. Ruby Riott, though, she looked great. She really looked great. I can't wait to see her in in-ring action again. She has sorely been missed on that roster. Whether it's Raw or it's SmackDown, I'm just saying as a whole, she has been tremendously missed. She's a great talent. And I definitely see a lot of big things happening for her later down the road. I really wouldn't be surprised if maybe by fall of 2020, we start to see a little bit of a good, massive push for Ruby Riott. And I really hope we are able to see that, because she's a hell of a performer in the ring there. Some other action that came about tonight. It's not your full-blown review, folks. I'm just going over some key bullet points that really stood out to me in my mind for Raw tonight. We did get a heads up that Bill Goldberg is going to be making his Fox debut on SmackDown this Friday. And one of the main questions that was put out there was, what's next, or who's next for Goldberg? Now, look, Honestly, I really would not be that surprised that if with what Goldberg is getting ready to do on Friday Night SmackDown, if that is a tie-in for 3 weeks from now, WWE Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. So now the $1 million question, well, who is Bill Goldberg going to be facing next? And I really have the impression that with what the Usos and Roman Reigns had did to Baron Corbin, it almost kind of feels as though that chapter is maybe over and done with for now. And if things were to resume between Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, Usos, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, maybe things will pick back up with those guys after Super Showdown. But I'm really under the impression that Roman Reigns, Bill Goldberg, and Saudi Arabia. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm just thinking to myself, okay, we need a really big main attraction type of a match. And for some people, that's actually a dream match to see Bill Goldberg and Roman Reigns go one-on-one, the Battle of the Spears. So why not do it in Saudi Arabia, right? And if it goes off pretty well, why not maybe once you get back to the States somewhere down the road, follow up with a part two? Nothing wrong with that. So, your guess is as good as mine, but one of the names that really jumps out to me off the break is Roman Reigns. Just going over the rest of the roster, there really isn't anybody else I'm seeing that I would go, okay, well, maybe we can slide in. There really isn't anybody else. I think Goldberg is definitely the way to go. I mean, come on, we don't really need to see him and Dolph Ziggler yet again, or heaven forbid, and I hope I'm not jinxing us, but I hope we don't see Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode handicap match against Bill Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. That would just be lame as I don't know what. So hopefully we're not going in that direction either, but I like the idea of Roman Reigns, maybe Baron Corbin. Maybe you could do Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns. That would be kind of interesting too. Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but those are the guys that I'm seeing right now. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Friday Night SmackDown. The Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair collision tonight. That was nice. I gotta tell you, I knew they were kind of going in that direction. One, Charlotte Flair was cutting her promo tonight, and she said, hey, I'm a multi-time women's champion. I've beaten Becky. I've been the SmackDown champion, right? I've been the Raw women's champion, and the fans are chanting NXT, and they're chanting, Rhea Ripley and everything. Well, first, they began with the chanting of NXT, and I like how Charlotte, she almost kind of gave me shades of how she used to be with her promos back in the day, where the fans would hijack and she would just stand there like a deer in headlights, not really sure how to counter. And she brilliantly counters right back and said, yeah, exactly. I was the NXT Women's Champion before. You are right, people. I won all the titles that there is, right? And so that was nice how she had set that up and everything. And essentially, she danced around the idea of a Rhea Ripley, without even really going all balls in on it. And then to see Rhea Ripley come out, it's like, ooh, now this is very interesting here. So Rhea Ripley reminding us all around the world, especially at home, that her and Charlotte did face off before. And she actually has a W on Charlotte, right? So why not dance again? But this time they dance for the NXT championship. So the idea of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, which, come on, it's going to go down. Yeah, I'm down with that. The only thing I have to say with regards to how they had set that up, I really wish that the way this could have played out could have been a situation where maybe at some type of autograph signing or something like that. I wish maybe they would have pulled an audible just to make it even more intriguing somewhat. I do, because you could have really played around with this. But the fact that they did it the way that they did it, it's okay. Well, it is what it is. We got to deal with it. I mean, we'd be here all night just going over some of the cool ways they could have went about doing this. Now, another gripe I have with them, Charlotte doesn't give Rhea Ripley an answer. She just walks out of the ring, does her little woo, goes backstage. A couple of segments later, we get the news that Charlotte Flair is going to give Rhea Ripley her answer for that challenge on this Wednesday's NXT. So you're going, oh, wait, damn. So we're not even going to draw up the suspense on this. We're not even gonna. We're just automatically, yeah, Charlotte's gonna pop up on NXT. And you know why they're doing this move, right? You know why they're doing this move. It should be clear as day. This is, I feel, WWE's way of trying to use a marquee name in Charlotte Flair to do everything in their power to have fans flock over to NXT this Wednesday and try to hopefully help overtake AEW Dynamite in the ratings this week. We talked about the ratings. Go back and check out last Wednesday's show. We were talking about the ratings and everything. And as a matter of fact, I'm just thinking as far as when we had revisited the numbers there. Just give me a second to think, because I know when we did the show this past Wednesday, yeah, usually when it comes to bringing up NXT and AEW numbers from the week before, we usually get into it on Wednesday's show. But, as you all saw, if you're keeping track there, especially if you're following me on social media, AEW had beat NXT last week, but it's not exactly bragging rights, because once again, AEW's viewership went down. So it's okay, where did the rest of those fans go? Yeah, it's a W, but what's going on right here? So this little move that WWE did tonight in hyping up Charlotte is going to be popping up on NXT. I really feel it's their way in trying to counter AEW programming and hopefully get a little bit of a one-up there. So we'll see if it all is going to play out for them well to the point they overtake AEW in the ratings for this week. And later on, we saw Asuka in a match against Natty. That actually was a pretty good match. Asuka coming out of that on top. Asuka in her broken English, once again demanding she gets another shot at Becky Lynch for that Raw Women's Championship. Becky came out having the jealous/triggered shades on. That licorice black that she was wearing too, man. I gotta tell you, I was really feeling that. She had kind of a BDSM thing going on there with that outfit. I was feeling that tonight. Now Becky Lynch is, the way Becky Lynch had came out there too, she kind of reminded me of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Malcolm X movie with Denzel Washington. Remember when Malcolm X was going around to all of the temples and he was giving the speeches and everything? And remember how swole of a head that, and if you actually did your own research on it, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he actually started to get a really big head, thinking he was king, right? And it's so funny because a lot of people have basically said that Elijah Muhammad was capitalizing off of the bombastic personality and all that of Malcolm, his speeches and everything. He was just so charismatic, very captivating and everything. And then when Elijah Muhammad would get to the podium and everything, it was night and day. It was 180 degrees in a very bad direction. A lot of people, not my word, not what I'm saying, but a lot of people that actually have went in for, some of his teachings and all that said, no personality whatsoever, very bland, was not as all the things I had described with Malcolm and everything. So to see Becky Lynch come out there, she just kind of reminded me of, look, big old head, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, now she's getting so cocky and everything, very brash there. I don't know, man, that might be your downfall. You're so goddamn cocky. You're coming out there with the GOAT on the back of your jacket and everything like that, ooh, somebody needs to make you humble. And could Asuka be that person that's going to make you humble? If it was a case where maybe these two were going to get it on at WrestleMania, then okay, sure. But then as we find out after a commercial break, these two are going to be fighting for the Raw Women's Championship on next Monday's Raw. So you're going, okay, well, we don't have to wait that long to see what's going to happen with that. So you kind of already feel that maybe this one's going to be a foregone conclusion, but it's still a bit murky there. What's going to be happening with Becky Lynch going into WrestleMania now that we see that Charlotte is going to be tied up with Rhea Ripley. Okay, so, so what's going to happen with, what's going on with Bayley, right? Is Bayley's really pushing for a dream match with Lita. So is maybe that in the cards for her at WrestleMania? Or are they going to continue to stay the course with Lacey Evans, right? And even if you have Lacey Evans lose to Bayley, is at this point just having Bayley have her WrestleMania moment as a SmackDown Women's Champion, right? So, but it kind of seems like on that side, that's kind of, okay, that's a lock. Okay, so Becky Lynch, what essentially is going on with her? And I find it interesting that this week's After the Bell podcast with Corey Graves, he's going to have Santino Marella. He's going to have MVP. He's going to have Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is going to be offering her thoughts on what her takeaways were for the Royal Rumble and everything. So this is the first time in a good minute that she is going to be appearing on something essentially WWE produced, talking about a WWE event. Is this maybe how you kind of get the ball rolling and everything for Ronda Rousey coming back into the WWE universe? Is it very well possible that maybe it could be Becky Lynch taking on Ronda Rousey one-on-one? Is it possible we may get that? Because, kind of originally, that's essentially what WWE kind of wanted before they went on ahead and went with the triple threat dance and everything with Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky. So is it possible we're maybe going to see Becky and Ronda one-on-one? Your guess is as good as mine, but I tell you what, I think everybody should be paying very close attention to some of the things that Ronda says during that podcast there that's going to be dropping this week. I think Corey Graves usually drops that on a Wednesday or Thursday, so that should be kind of interesting to see what happens. Also, we had Saul. I got my wish. I have been talking high praise of him for about 2 months. Angel Garza. He made his WWE Raw debut tonight, and that was great how they did that. As we all know, Andrade, he got suspended for violating the wellness policy. We had talked about it on last week's show. As a matter of fact, I believe we brought it, I know for a fact we brought it up on the Wednesday show. It didn't get covered on the Monday show because by the time we got on the air, I believe WWE had put out the statement that he was suspended for 30 days, like as soon as we went live on the air, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't remember hearing anything about it while Raw was on. So we talked about that on Wednesday, FYI. So Andrade's out for a little bit, and now Zelina Vega introduces Angel Garza. And one of the things that I have been talking about for the past 2 months was Angel Garza. He's going to be a bona fide freaking star on Raw. I kept saying I could see him do a lot of cool things on Monday Night Raw, have him aligned with Zelina Vega and have him aligned with Andrade, and that would be pretty damn good. Have him feud, have them feud against Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo and everything. Maybe throw Dominic in there and all that. It's like that would be pretty freaking awesome. So it was very slick how they went about introducing Garza too. They basically had said through Zelina Vega, Garza and Carrillo are cousins. And you've got freaking Garza going in there saying, hey, we know with regards to the family and everything and, the era, our generation and everything, I am the leader right now. I'm the one that has seniority. So you answer to me. and said to him, you have not only disrespected our family, disrespected the fans, but you are disrespecting all Latinos everywhere with how you've been conducting yourself, right? But he did it in a heel way, right? So him and Humberto brawling. Look like at one point action gets outside of the ring. He's getting ready to do to Humberto what he did, what essentially Andrade had. I was saying it right. He was getting ready to do to Humberto what Humberto had did to Andrade. Yeah, I don't know why I was kind of thinking it was something else, but then Ray comes on out there. And then Garza, Rey Mysterio. That was actually a really good matchup. I got to give them a lot of props. That was actually a good one-on-one matchup that they had. Pretty much matches thrown out because Garza does that trademark DDT that Andrade did, right? I see I messed up again. No, Garza did the DDT that Humberto did on Andrade that sent him out, using the quotations there, for a hot minute. And so Ray is complaining about his neck. So maybe Ray is going to be out for a couple of weeks and everything. So now the $1 million question, I know some people kind of have on their mind, which is, so what exactly is going on with Andrade? Does this mean that as far as Andrade's push goes and everything, he's essentially kicked to the curb? Like, that's it for him? Not so fast, people. I mean, come on. Look at how long the guy has been with the WWE, and this is essentially the first time that we've ever heard about him having any type of trouble, right? And it's his first violation. Honestly, and I thought it was kind of interesting, the tweet that he had put out there, or the post rather he put out there on Instagram, remembering where he came from, his origins, right? Good times, bad times, and everything like that. It seemed as though he was being very reflective and appreciative of where he started and where he is now and everything. So I when he comes back, I don't see him being punished in any type of way. Look, guys, as far as the punishment and all that goes, it would have made all the sense in the world to take the title off of him and have Humberto deliver the DDT. Then maybe you could kind of have enough of a base of an argument, right? But I think, honestly, when Andrade comes back, they're going to literally pick up right where they left off. And that's going to be a very interesting trio there of Humberto, Zelina Vega, and Andrade. Because ultimately, and I wouldn't be surprised if essentially going into Mania, we see that team, minus Zelina Vega, take on Humberto Carrillo and Rey Mysterio. If that's the direction that you are going to be going in, then that's freaking cool. Although I still love the idea of Ray taking on Andrade, hair versus mask. And especially since that's something Ray jumped out there in interviews and said, yeah, I would love to do something like that now that I feel as though my time in the WWE is winding down. So it should be interesting to see, next couple of weeks going into WrestleMania season, how that's going to be coming about, right? But good stuff right there. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I want to talk about before we get ready to dive into some headlines. And I'm just looking at the rest of the cards here for Monday Night Raw. There was a main event match that we had. By the way, Drew McIntyre, I mean, that squash that he had there with Mojo Rawley, I'm not caring for that. What I am more interested in is the fact that week after week, this young man is continuing to go out there. Never really an explanation on this 180 in his character change, right? Going the face route, but I really have just continued to be amazed and really taken back at how quick the WWE fans are taking him. It's refreshing. It's different. It's really appreciative to see them be so receptive to Drew. I mean, he's getting over really well, I gotta say. And most importantly, he really seems like he's having fun. There used to be a time in WWE, even when, he came back a little while back, not from this injury, but just in general, after he did his thing in TNA and everything, and then he came back, it really kind of seemed like a period of time where he was really just trying to, find himself, and he was just going out there and just doing the work. I wouldn't say that he wasn't having fun, but it just really seemed as though he was being very robotic and okay, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna do that, right? Okay, I'm gonna talk like this and now it just seems like whatever went off in his head, I don't know, but now it just seems as though everything's really clicking for him now, and it's really showing. So I'm loving what I'm seeing of him right now. I really am. Let's see what else here. So we talked about that. Shout out to Eric Young for the little cameo he made there. Squash match essentially against Aleister Black. That was pretty solid. Solid from the standpoint we got to see Eric Young. I love Eric Young. Phenomenal athlete there. There was a number one contenders match. Winner of this match, your main event match, would go on to face Brock Lesnar for the championship at Super Showdown. Ricochet had defeated Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley. That's all I gotta say. I mean, look, on paper, just thinking about what Ray did with Brock Lesnar, with AJ, with Dean Ambrose, Daniel Bryan. Okay, yeah, it should be a good match. It should be. But from just a personality standpoint and everything, this is one of those where I'm scratching my head. If there was ever an opportunity where you could have spent some serious money and you could have, hey, fans have been wanting to see Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar collide in some type of a MMA match. Well, we might not necessarily be able to give them an MMA match, but we can give them the next best thing, and we can give them Lesnar versus Lashley for the title in Saudi Arabia. How about it, right? It's just a throw-off story. Let's go there, right? And the one time you really could have even elevated Lashley even more, right? Lana was out there in Saudi Arabia last year, so we already know Lana ain't got no problem being out there. Even if she has to dress up a certain way, she's good to go, right? So I'm just scratching my head at that. I really, really am, because, Ricochet, Lesnar, no, and that's the other thing with this. Nobody is thinking, oh yeah, Lesnar, he's gonna lose. That nobody's thinking that, right? I get that sometimes that when it comes to these Saudi Arabia shows, some of the things that they're doing at these Saudi Arabia shows, they're just a throwaway, and it's all about just putting really good matches together and trying to give the best Indian version of a SummerSlam and WrestleMania as best as humanly possible for the fans. And that's cool and everything, but you sometimes it's really good to put in those little nuggets of what a twist, right? So look, they should have a good match, but anybody that is thinking Ricochet is gonna come out of there with the title, come on now. Whenever Seth decides he wants to get back into logging down what podcasters are picking for these podcasts, I'm going to be very curious to see who's going to go in a different direction and say that my man Ricochet is going to, and Ricochet still has a lot of homework ahead of him when it comes to the promos. As good of an athlete as he is in that ring and what he's able to do, I mean, he is truly like a superhero. Before all the costumes, and he's truly, because I remember watching him in Lucha Underground. He's truly like a real life superhero. All the things that he's able to do, but the in ring stuff, as good as it is, promos, man, them promos are very, very bland, very generic. As I don't know what, it's like taking the most blandest, nastiest sugar you can find and putting it on your cornflakes and trying to give it a little bit of and you ain't able to get it. That's Ricochet when it comes to the promos. And yeah, I don't know what it's going to take for him to go to that next level. He's almost kind of reminding me, and I said this before some months back, he's almost kind of reminding me of where Seth Rollins was when he was up on the main roster starting off and everything. So I don't know how much longer it's going to take for Ricochet to really string everything together, before we can really see overall right. But maybe 3 more years. I don't know. Maybe 3 years. I mean, look at John Morrison. John Morrison is a guy for all the phenomenal. Now that's a dream match for me. That is a dream match for me in WWE. John Morrison, Ricochet. Fucking killer. But y'all remember that? Used to watch John Morrison back in the days, first run in the WWE, all the talent in the world that he had in the ring. And as far as the promos goes, right? But working multiple promotions, taking acting classes and all of that, it really helped him out. Same thing goes for a guy like Edge. And I don't know, maybe that's essentially something that Ricochet needs on his downtime. Maybe he needs to take some acting lessons and right, and maybe that can kind of take him to the next level and everything. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, raw overall to that, I would say it was definitely a pretty solid episode. To the polls we go now. We did poll you guys on Twitter asking you all, what did you think about Monday's WWE Raw? Still relatively early. Right now we've got 31.3% of you giving Raw a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 68.8% of you all are giving it a thumbs up. To YouTube we go now. Head over to youtube.com/the RCWR show and click on the communities tab. Maybe this is something we'll maybe revisit once again on Wednesday. Who knows? Or we just keep it moving along. But you can definitely sound off on your thoughts. Still relatively early. I see 20% of you on YouTube gave tonight's Raw a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 80% of you guys gave Raw a thumbs up. So good stuff right there. Appreciate everybody that cast their votes. Speaking of casting your votes, you've got a couple of days left, and I appreciate everybody that's cast their votes so far. I need your help. If you've got Twitter, go cast your vote. There is 2 days left. It is a pinned tweet. I'm asking you all to help me choose the next book to read now that I finish Mayor Kane by Glenn Jacobs. I will be giving that the full proper review in audio format. I'm going to be doing that later this week. I had posted the poll on January 30th. So in the next couple of days, I will be doing a full review for Kane. Nothing long drawn out. I'll probably talk about the Kane book for, I would think maybe at most about 15 minutes. Pretty much be in and out, and that's essentially it. But I'm getting ready to post this in the live chat here so you guys can go cast your vote. All right, so it's now live for you guys that's checking it out there. Click on that, and that'll take you to the Twitter poll. And for those of you that's going to be listening to this on demand and on the downloads, I'll have the link be included in the episode description. But your choice is there. And again, help me choose the next book to read and review. Your options are Soul Man, Rocky Johnson, Sting. There was a Sting book that came out, and it was really cool because the Sting book and the Soul Man, Rocky Johnson book, I had got both of those from my girl for Christmas. The Sting book is, I can actually show it to you guys. Hang on a second here. All right, the Sting book is, I think it's his one and only book that he, poor Maggie, my dog's barking. It's the one and only book that had came out a couple of years ago, or several years ago. Steve Borden, aka Sting, with George King. Sting, Moment of Truth. And this is how it looks for you guys. And let me just see what you guys are seeing right here, because I want to make sure you guys are able to get a nice, good visual. Oh, yeah, you guys are able to see it really good. Let me just move my hand a little bit, and you guys can see it a little bit more. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Right, so that's on the list there. And then there's AJ Lee's book. I think Crazy Is My Superpower. Now, here's the thing. I had began reading it when that book initially came out. And I want to say I read about the first 20 pages, but for some respected reason, I never got back to picking up the book. So that's why the AJ Lee book is on the list. And then there's another book I've yet to read. It's like, I didn't realize I didn't read it yet. but Bob Backlund. And right now, taking in the lead with 37.5% of the votes from you guys, Soul Man Rocky Johnson. So, good stuff right there. In second place, surprisingly, even though it's been some years, the AJ Lee book, that is in second place right now. So cast your votes. You got 2 days left to cast your votes, and appreciate everybody that cast their vote. Appreciate that in advance. Speaking of Rocky Johnson and everything, I thought this was kind of interesting, which is the planned biopic. I don't know how many of you guys were even aware of this, but the planned biopic for Rocky Johnson is still moving forward and in development even after his passing from a couple of weeks ago. Now, THR, and they're pretty reputable, they spoke with Jonathan and Justin I don't know how you pronounce this, Jajewski, and they've been working on Rain King since 2018. They confirmed that the biopic, as they're attached to it, it is still in development. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, I thought it was kind of fun. I didn't get a chance to talk about this last week because by the time it had went down, we essentially were off the air. But it was kind of funny seeing everybody on social media and the wrestling websites report that Bret Hart has cancer. And you're reading everybody that's saying, Bret, best of wishes, thoughts and prayers. It's so sad to hear that you're going through this right now. This is just so unfortunate. Godspeed and everything like that. And you're like, whoa, damn, Bret's got a death sentence, huh? Whoa, what the fuck's going on? But then when you go on Bret Hart's own Instagram page, he's got a picture and he's showing you like this little spot around his shoulder, the top of his shoulder blade, so to speak. And he says in the little picture caption on Instagram, goal for 2020 and beyond, wear more sunscreen. Basal cell carcinoma removal scheduled soon. Another opportunity to remind everyone to look after your health. Hashtag get checked. All right. So you see this little small circle on his shoulder that is maybe about the size of this here dime that I'm showing you all here, right? This here dime. And everybody was just going, thoughts and prayers, best wishes, oh my God, that's so sad to hear, strength hit, man. And guys, this is commonly what happens all the time. And I'm not making it a race thing so people don't take it personal, but this is commonly what happens all the time to predominantly light skinned to, extremely lighter skinned people. When, you go out there and you're not using the sunscreen and any of that jazz, you're gonna really damage your skin. Look, anybody that's, seen enough pictures of me and the missus and the few times that we've done shows together, y'all know that she's very light. There's not really any color, in her skin. She's, pretty pale. And I can tell you on the hottest days, I have seen her in the weather on the hottest days. And when she does not wear sunscreen, she pays for it. Next time I see her, she looks like a boiled fucking crab, right? And I'm always reminding her, honey, you got to make sure you're wearing your sunscreens. Like, you don't need no problems. I remember one time she did a yard sale several years back with her and her mom. And I don't know why it didn't click in their head to use sunscreen, but when they both come back, I mean, they looked like fucking crabs. They were fucking crabs. It was hilarious. And I remember I had to help my girl take her clothes off because she was going, ouch, 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 ouch. And it wasn't like a wimp little, her skin literally cooked. And so, yeah, you got to be careful when you're dealing with those elements, man. You got to make sure that you're using the sunscreen and everything. Otherwise, stuff like what Bret Hart got, that is going to happen. So, it really pays to educate yourself on, okay, exactly what's going on with this. And, it's not like they're removing his whole fucking arm, or they're going to be digging into his skin like it's freaking ice cream, and there's going to be a big old scoop dent that's going to be missing of skin or something like that. Nothing like that at all. It's just a simple, okay, we're just going to, get around this area here. We're just going to, just going to cut that off, and boom, you're going to be good to go. That skin's going to heal up pretty good. It's going to regenerate nice and well. You're going to be good to go. All right, see you later, right? I mean, he's going to be in and out. He's not going to be overnight at a hospital or anything like that. He's going to be there for probably about maybe an hour or whatever, right? Gonna wrap him up, hey, how you feeling? All right, good. All right, you can go home. See you later, right? That's it. That's fucking it. So I just thought that was kind of hilarious. Now, since you people want to be like, oh, best wishes, oh, right? I got somebody you can sincerely send nothing but thoughts and prayers to. And, look, if you guys don't want to do this, then you know what? That is totally up to you guys respectfully. But I want to send a special shout out to Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh is somebody that I grew up on when I had first came to the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. in 1992. And I remember listening to AM radio, local AM radio, even though his radio show was syndicated nationally. AM radio, I want to say it was WMAL. I was able to hear him in my early teens, and I loved listening to him. I actually even still remember when he had the 30-minute talk show on TV. He had a 30-minute TV talk show. And I thought he was awesome. He was fucking cool as I don't know what. I bring him up because on his radio show earlier today, he had broke the news to listeners that he's been diagnosed with lung cancer. And the way he discovered the lung cancer, what got the ball rolling, and ultimately he found out that he had lung cancer, was the fact that on his birthday, and his birthday was on January 12th, he started noticing a shortness of breath. And so that went down apparently on his birthday weekend. So he immediately took it upon himself to get checked out and everything. And he found out he had lung cancer. And so far he's been to 2 medical institutions, and they basically were, yeah, you got lung cancer. So heartbroken, he shared the news with listeners today, and he said, look, this is what it is. This is what's going on. There are going to be some days over the course of the next several weeks where I won't be on the air because I'm going to be, looking into what options are available to me, what steps I can take, and, try to go from there. But, if you want to send serious thoughts and prayers to somebody, that's definitely somebody you can send thoughts and prayers to. Yeah, I remember I used to listen to him religiously and watch his TV show as well, where I started to fall out of love with Rush Limbaugh. You got to rewind it back to 2003. And I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but I know there was a few times on the podcast over the years I did bring this up, but he was very critical of Donovan McNabb. And I'm not sure how many of you guys remember that, but it's worth going out of your way on a Bing or Google search, but just to kind of give you the bullet points. There was a period of time where Rush Limbaugh was part of the ESPN, like the Monday night football crew. He was giving his thoughts on the games and all of that. And the one segment that was in question, he would appear on Sports Center and a couple of the ESPN shows and all that back in the day, right? Because he was a big football fan and everything. And so when this opportunity came about where he could not only work for ESPN, but, he could also appear on Monday Night Football, it was, well, shit, sign me up. And I remember he had some very interesting choice words to say about Donovan McNabb that had made everybody at that time look at what Rush Limbaugh was saying about Donovan McNabb and basically, oh, Rush Limbaugh, you're just a racist piece of shit, right? And here's what had went down essentially. So his comments had came during a Sunday pregame show where he said, and I quote, about McNabb, as his opinion of McNabb wasn't as good as at the time the media, how they were perceiving McNabb. And he said the comments, or correction, and I quote, I think we've had here is a little social concern in the NFL. The media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well. Very desirous that a black quarterback do well. There is a little hope invested in McNabb, and he got a lot of credit for the performance of this team that he didn't deserve. The defense carried this team. What he said right there had essentially just opened up this big old of, man, Rush Limbaugh's racist, blah this, blah that, how can he be saying such bad things about Donovan McNabb? What the hell? And then, sure enough, it turns out what he had saw, years later, we would see what would happen. It's like, so essentially he was right. He never said anything racist. He never made anything personal, but that did rub me the wrong way for the simple fact at that point, I was a big Donovan McNabb fan. You couldn't tell me anything wrong about Donovan McNabb. And if you had tried to tell me anything wrong about Donovan McNabb back then, I was a stubborn SOB. I didn't want to hear it. I would have looked at you as just hating, or if you were a white person, I would have called you racist or some stupid crap like that, right? You hating in a nutshell. And so when he said what he said, those were kind of fighting words for me. So I didn't listen to him for a little bit. But then I kind of came around, maybe like a year later. I'm like, okay, let me give him another shot. And then I was done with him for good when the controversy had went down in 2006 with Michael J. Fox. And I don't know how many of you guys remember that one, but, in a nutshell, as we all know that grew up on Michael J. Fox, Michael J. Fox, he's been dealing with Parkinson's disease, and he has good moments and he has bad moments. And that hit TV show that he had, Spin City, that was on ABC, that was his baby. For a lot of us, when we heard he was coming back to TV, we were ecstatic. And that show was hilarious as hell when he was on it. And, when we heard the news, I'll never forget hearing the news when Michael J. Fox had said he was going to be stepping away from Spin City. You're like, wait a minute. Why are you stepping away from this hit show? Like, I don't understand. What the hell is going on? And then he finally revealed that, hey, I've been battling Parkinson's disease. And, it turns out this was a quiet battle that he had been dealing with for a significant number of years. And he was disguising it very well, but it had got to a point where, he couldn't mask it any longer. And, you were like, wow, and, sadly, we've seen that Parkinson's, over a course of time, really get the best of him and everything. He can still hold conversations very well. He can still act as well. Matter of fact, I can remember seeing him on Dennis Leary's Rescue Me, great hit series about firefighters and all that. That was on FX. Great series. Check that out. If you're a Dennis Leary fan, that was actually a really good series. Very underrated series, I personally felt. He appeared on that series, did some other stuff. He managed it pretty well, but I remember there was a TV ad that he did where he was trying to encourage people to, educate themselves more about Parkinson's, and he was trying to basically put the awareness out there to help generate stem cell research funding and everything. And you see this commercial, and I mean, he's gyrating, he's, obviously it's the Parkinson's. And so you're like, wow, for a lot of people, this was really their first time really seeing Michael J in that state, and it was just, especially if you grew up on him like I and many others did in the 80s, you're like, woo, right? Rush Limbaugh basically took shots at Michael J. Fox, and he called Michael J. Fox shameless, and basically said he was exaggerating like a mofo. I'm paraphrasing, but he did say exaggerate. You know, he was exaggerating his condition. You know, he should be ashamed of himself for how he conducted himself in that commercial. You know, that was sickening. That was, you know, a bad display. You know, yada 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 yada. And Michael J. Fox, and he even said like, did he even take his medicine? You know, if he didn't take his medicine, he should have taken his medicine or something like that. And Michael J. Fox, he was like, no, to the contrary, I did take my medicine. If anything, the day that we were shooting the commercial, I took a little bit too much medicine. I was trying to make sure that I was going to be okay. And, I actually took a bit too much medicine, and that is the result of what you saw and everything. And I just remember there were so many people. The hell with everybody else. I just knew how I felt, right? Because I did educate myself once he revealed he did have Parkinson's. I saw what was going on with Muhammad Ali, but it really wasn't until Michael J. Fox that I really tried to educate myself more on Parkinson's disease and really understand it and everything. And then it was okay. And then when Rush said that about Michael J. Fox, it was like, for me, yeah, dude, I'm done with you. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, seriously, I'm totally done with you. Fuck you. Right. But, person's health, I don't wish them ill will. I don't wish them death, and I don't think anybody else should. Like, that says a lot about you if you want to wish somebody, right? But yeah, speedy recovery, definitely to him. Hopefully he's able to find some alternatives and all that. But educate yourself. Yeah, if you don't know anything about all of that, I'm telling you, man, Google or Bing, you don't remember it. You weren't really alive during that period or whatever. Some good stuff that you could check out when you get a free moment there. Also, while we're talking about mental health and everything, Mauro Ranallo, getting back to wrestling a hot second, Mauro Ranallo, he did a fantastic interview a couple of days ago that I think a lot of you guys should go out of your way and check out. The interview went about 14 minutes long, but it's definitely worth going out of your way to check out. He conducted the interview with TSN 1040. They talked about the whole situation that went down with Corey Graves. They also talked about his struggle with mental health and everything. I do want to read to you guys just a couple of bullet points on what Mauro had said with regards to his whole mental health and everything. But one of the main things he also had touched upon had to do with social media. And if you've been listening to this show, off and on for the past couple of years, you know how I always tell you guys how toxic social media has really become and everything. First, his comments with regards to the struggle with mental health. He said, thankfully, I believe we're starting to do much better than any other time in our history. And yet there is still so much work to be done. And it is emboldening and heartening to me. It's almost been 2 years since I released my story, the documentary Bipolar Rock and Roller. And to this day, and almost every day, whether it's in my pro wrestling excursions, Showtime boxing, Bellator MMA, or in my everyday life, the amount of people who still come up to me, and whether I'm calling major championship matches or whatever, the story is always about mental health. And that to me is the legacy I want to leave behind. So I'm really grateful and blessed. And yet I can share it with you guys as well that last year for yours truly has maybe been one of the hardest that I've had to endure because of my mental health and because of the increase in my schedule, and maybe even the simple fact that I've now turned 50. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 52-a-year condition. And that's something that the stigma still attaches itself to. People don't realize that this is chronic. There is no cure. I am working diligently and spending way too much money in therapy and other resources trying to simply stay alive. Is that some heavy shit, or is that some heavy shit? And I'm going to, blaze over the Corey Graves thing. I'll let you guys go out of your way. Again, it's a 14-minute interview. I'll let you guys go out of your way. Y'all peep that out. The problem with social media. Now pay attention to this right here. And some of the things that he's saying with regards to this almost mirrors what I have been saying about social media for the longest time. If you've listened to this show at least during the course of the past 6 months or even longer, I've always brought up the toxicity that has been going on in social media. So he said, with regards to the problems with social media is so dangerous to those of us with mental health conditions. And I know in the media and in our everyday lives, now people are being hired and fired by their social media followings or the amount of information they post or how popular they are. I think it's a disease. So out of that situation with my colleague, I am no longer on social media with regards to the Corey Graves situation. I will never get back on social media. And I can't tell you how many people, how many kids, just how many individuals in general, just reading research and everything else. There was nothing beneficial to me as someone who is dealing with bipolar disorder or any other mental health issue. The anxiety that social media creates, the false sense of whatever it is, you put on your best face, the perfect photos, the amount of depression that stems from social media, the envy, the anxiety. So if anything, it was a benefit to me. I always try to look at the positives of negatives that we always endure. So for me, it just allowed me to unhook myself from the social media aspects of my life, where I found myself doing way too much and it ate up way too much of my time. And again, being in media, being a sports commentator for combat sports, what have you, I'm following everything as much as I ever did. I know as much as I ever did. So if anything, to everyone, if you suffer from mental health issues, I would severely decrease, if not deactivate, social media. And I want to bring it up, the tragedy of Kobe Bryant, as we saw on Sunday, the fact that there was so much misinformation shared immediately on social media, whether it was in relation to Kobe's Canadian basketball alum, Rick Fox, or his entire family. So this is just a microcosm of a much more serious issue. My therapist and my support network have noticed a change in me. So again, I know how important it is for a lot of people in terms of their job, but I said a big FU to social media, and I wish I would have done it a lot sooner. Now, is that heavy or is that heavy? And so, look, I remember when the stuff had went down with Kobe Bryant and just in real time, and you're like, wait, Rick Fox, like, what the hell? And then you hear, oh, the entire family got taken out. Now, there actually was one reporter, I think he was affiliated with ABC, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that. But he ended up getting suspended because the report that he put out there was that, the entire Kobe Bryant family, wife and the kids, everybody got killed on a helicopter. And it turns out, no, that's not the case, dude. And so he got suspended. So exactly to the point of what Mauro is putting out there, I'll give you something even more simplistic, right? And for those of you that maybe are just tuning in live, you're wondering like, what's going on with the Talk of Raw? We did it at the very beginning of the show. If you're watching this live, you can actually rewind it back. I did enable the rewind playback feature, so you guys can rewind it back. But those of you that's been with me from beginning to now, I looked at that whole craziness that went down with the Kobe Bryant situation. And I'll give you something even more simplistic than that. Something that's not as tragic as that. Something more lighthearted. So President Trump, and I didn't see this initially because he deleted the tweet, right? And we all have done that. When we've put out a tweet, we think we spelled something correctly. We go back, oh shit, that's spelled wrong. No, man. And then you delete it or whatever. But, sadly, there's a lot of people that will just, screenshot, right? And so President Trump, Lord knows, he probably did not. I'm not defending the guy, so don't take it that way. But I'm sure that, not for nothing, over the weekend, he was playing golf. And I don't really believe he was watching football, but he probably heard from one of his people, hey, Mr. President, Kansas City Chiefs, they won the Super Bowl.
They won the Super Bowl, hon. That's very great. I guess I need to go on my phone here, and I need to put out some type of a tweet congratulating them, don't I?
And so I wouldn't be surprised if he put that out or whatever, and he was getting lit up like a motherfucker because he referred to the wrong state, right? And you're like, okay, so he messed up. Okay, well, it happens to the best of us. And I put out a very simple tweet and I said, look, it must be a slow news day. But I'll tell you what, if you're over the age of 25 and you can name every single state in the United States, you can name the major capital, right? You can name the major city for every single state here in the US. Yeah, you need to go on Jeopardy and you need to see if you can win some money. It's like nobody is perfect. And that's the God's the honest truth. So, as far as what Mauro is talking about with regards to the toxicity of what's been going on with social media, he is absolutely right. Stephen King, one of my all time favorite authors, he ditched Facebook. He made the announcement today to his Twitter followers of like almost 8 million. And he basically said, look, I'm tired of the false advertisements that I see from the political spectrum. You really got to educate yourself on, what's fact and, what's just a load of bull and everything. And I know exactly what he's talking about. I used to follow Now This and a couple of other joints on Facebook, and I would come across some stories and I'm like, wow, that's pretty messed up. And, I'm clicking, I'm trying to inform myself, get enlightened. And then when I'm going to talk about it with people the next day or whatever, it turns out, nah, man, that's only a fraction of what you're talking about. That you don't even have the rest of the story. Nah, here's the second half of that story. And that's why that went down. It's like, really? Like, yeah, they didn't mention that, did they? It's like, no, they didn't. It's no different than I was just talking about it on the Super Bowl post show. And I had recommended to folks, and we're going to do the full review for it. That's going to drop on Patreon this week. But the Aaron Hernandez thing, I said there was so much information that the Investigation Discovery 3-part miniseries did not mention. Yet when you watch the Netflix Aaron Hernandez miniseries, you're like, whoa, ID version didn't mention that. ID version didn't mention this. ID version didn't mention that. Damn, what's going on? Right? So much critical information that was missing. So, we're in a day and age where you really can't be looking at something truly at face value. You got to question everything that you're seeing and reading and, really cross-reference and make sure that you truly have all your eggs in a row. And I've seen the toxicity just from the Kobe, and there's many other instances. I've seen exactly what Mauro is talking about. And, it's downright scary. It really is to see people that abuse social media the way that they abuse it. That's why I always tell people in any time of the week, when it comes to social media, I do my best to just treat it as a business. I'll interact with the people that I see are totally cool to me. They go out of their way to listen to the show and, hey man, I heard that. Like, I remember when I was so emotional about the Kobe thing. I had so many people that reached out to me privately, whether it was, the tweet that I put out or I was just talking openly in a forum or whatever. I had people that reached out to me privately and were like, dude, take care of you, do what you need to do, and there's some really cool people that I will interact with, but for the most part, that's why I'll post whatever I need to post about the show. I'll post whatever thoughts I need to post about whatever wrestling show is on or a movie or, whatever. Right. And I just keep it moving along. I try to use it the way that I know I can maximize in the most positive way possible. But yeah, to Mauro's point, there's a lot of dark shit that's out there on social media. And, we as a society, we definitely need to do a better job and not being so quick to be a big bad keyboard warrior, as I like to put it. We need to be more compassionate and understanding to, hey, I don't know this person. They may not take this joke that well. And, I don't know what's going on with this person's mental stability, their mental health and everything. And, like, let me keep it moving along. Right. So, I mean, it's a fascinating perspective that Mauro has, something that I've kind of echoed off and on for a couple of years and everything. And I don't know, hopefully this can be the spark of, even more people getting on top of this and, really having serious discussions about it and everything. All right, so we ran just a little bit. We ran about 10 minutes over. Really nothing else I want to get into on tonight's show. I will mention this real quick. WWE, they signed Gurvinder Singh of Jagaji and Sukhwinder Jarwal. They're two students that were trained by the great Khali. Both of them reported to WWE's Performance Center. And these two guys, they stand over 7 feet tall. Yeah, and they also signed Laxmi Kant Rajput, who is another great Khali student. He doesn't stand over 7 feet tall like the other guys, but he's got some height to him. He's got a very nice athletic background that includes javelin and taekwondo. So yeah, these guys all come from Great Khali's school that he and slash promotion that he opened up. When did he open that up? I think he opened that up around 2014 or 2015. And that's nice to see that his students, doesn't that make student number 4 now for Great Khali, a 4th student that's gone into the WWE? So I mean, that's great. Whether or not they can actually do something, right? We're gonna see what happens now that they are under the teachings of WWE, right? And depending on how well they're able to adapt to that and everything, we'll see how that goes down. And shout out to Chris Jericho's son, Ash. Chris Jericho's son, Ash, has begun high school wrestling. So Jericho's very proud of his son, saying, hey, he's doing something that I never was able to do. And this is the start of something that's, really going to be awesome. Really proud of him. Going to be there for him the whole way. So I definitely, sometimes they televise some of those high school wrestling matches and all that, or put some stuff up on YouTube or Daily Motion and all that. So I'll definitely do my best to keep tabs on him when I can and let you guys know how he's been doing and everything. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll stick a fork in it. We ran a little bit in the OT. I don't mind that. That's cool. Before we get ready to roll out of here, I do want to give a shout out to our Patreon members, patreon.com/RCWR show. Check out bonus audio, video content, great majority of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Exclusive series, 30 with Lee, Wrestling with the Topics with me and Tammy. $5 a month, get you in, get you access to all of that great content. Shout out to Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Suit. Shout out to you, buddy, who was at the Poppy concert there. Can't wait to hear about how that all went. He actually got to ask Poppy a question, too. Very close to her. Cool shit, man. Also, shout out to Justin Ripstock. Shout out to John Krauser. Shout out to Sean Kenter. Tony Bing Gaming, want the very latest on all things Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Marvel Super Wars, and Marvel Strike Force. There is, speaking of Marvel Strike Force, there is a strike among gamers right now as far as, no, we're not spending any more money until Foxnet corrects XYZ. Check out what's been going down since last you had played Marvel Strike Force and all the other games I mentioned. Tony Bean Gaming's got your hookup. Great YouTube channel. Also has a great Patreon paywall as well. Shout out to Michael Wolf and shout out to John Davis. Also, shout out to our sponsors. We're brought to you in part by Leafy Legal Services. If you're a real estate investor or entrepreneur, these guys can help you out tremendously in making sure that your business continues to grow and thrive and be very prosperous in wealth. Check them out, Leafy Legal Services at leafyassets.com. We're also brought to you in part by watchshopus.com, watchshopus.com. Check them out for all kinds of cool gift ideas for him and for her. You got Valentine's Day right around the corner. Find yourself some really good brand name stuff, man. You won't be disappointed with them. We're also brought to you in part by the good folks behind the movie President Evil. Check that out on Amazon. You love a little bit of SNL, some satire, some dark humor and all that. You love the comedy. check out President Evil. Check it out on Amazon. And while we just had referred to Valentine's Day, the 7th annual Slow Jamming with Lee event is gonna be dropping Valentine's Day night. Friday night, 12 a.m. Eastern, Valentine's Day night. Join yours truly. I'm going to be kicking back as I do with every single Slow Jamming with Lee special. We're going to be live. We are going to be playing some tunes, man. Some of the best hits, best grooves from, the past, yesterday, today. It's a nice, good blend. You guys definitely will enjoy it. I always look forward to doing those things every single year. Again, our 7th annual Slow Jamming with Lee special. If you got some requests, you can get at me on social media. And before you put the requests out there, do yourselves a huge favor and check out the last 2 Slow Jamming specials to get an idea of the type of songs that's covered. And then, if you got a request that maybe you want to, hey, Lee, I want to dedicate this song to me and my baby, right? Then you come at me. I remember there was one year, I can't remember who it was, but I remember there was one year where somebody had requested Shakira's Wherever, Whenever. And it's like, it's not that kind of show, dude. It's like, it's not exactly a slow jam. Like you can play that anytime you want. It's like, so it's good shit, man. It's good shit. Check that out. All right, guys, that is gonna do it. For those of you that's gonna be waiting for this on demand and on the downloads, give me about 30 minutes and no later than 1 o'clock. I should have this ready to go for you guys. Your next edition dropping February 5th, 2020, coming on after NXT and AEW goes off the air. Meanwhile, get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords the RCWR show. Till next go round, wishing all y'all to be safe, most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you next go round. Everybody, do take care. Very good night and a good morning.